live. And it says we're preparing, but we're not live yet. Okay, now we're live. Good morning, everybody. We've got you all sitting here in our waiting room, and that's because I'm having to do all of our technical stuff right now, but we're so happy to have you with us. Aren't we, Lori?
Yes, we are. Good morning. Happy Monday.
Happy. Now we're live. Oh, sorry. There we go. Okay.
But every time, like,
you know, it's just a little glitch in the system. If I have the audio off for that, then I can't hear us. So, you know, I'm kind of messed up anyhow. Anyhow, we've got a bunch of people in that waiting room. I say we let them in. Admit all. Admit all. Boom, 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 boom. I just love this part. Awesome. Okay.
Good morning.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Good morning.
It's so nice to see everybody's faces. You know, I'm so used to just the names in the corner.
Right?
So this is much more fun.
Yeah.
Much more fun. I hope everybody has something to bring to the table today, because we're a little light on discussion stuff over here, aren't we, Lori?
Yeah, it's been a quiet week. Not too much going on, so
It's been busy. It's
we'll
been
have a
busy
chance
week.
to hear some of your stories or hear any questions you guys have.
Well, and anybody that was at the CAR meetings earlier this month, you know, share with us your biggest takeaway, your biggest piece of news, you know, what it is that we can learn from you. So, so Lori, no news at all. We have no news.
I have really nothing new today. I mean, there's always something new, right? But you know, it's same situations coming up week after week that I'm hearing from brokers and seeing out there. So, you know, we don't need to keep rehashing. The nerds that are here with us today, they've heard it before. They don't need to hear it again.
That's for sure. But I have a question, because I think we've got some lenders in the room, and I heard that purchase applications are dropping. Is that true? Unmute yourself if you'd like to. I think you guys can unmute yourselves. Yeah. Okay, Carrie, she unmuted herself.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Happy Monday. We waited all weekend for it. Yeah, you know, I actually am not really seeing them drop as much, but what we're seeing is where the people qualified and of course have been struggling to find homes. Now rates went up last week. So there's a lot of volatility in the rate market. And so I think Joy's nodding her head. How many emails did you get this last week? Rates are on the rise, rates are on the rise, rates are up. All of a sudden we saw one that rates decreased and we all jumped in and locked as many as we could to try and salvage what's been going on. But if a client doesn't have a home yet, you can't really, I mean, you can, but it's expensive for them to lock the rate at the time. So that's kind of where in the last week we've kind of seen things is there's a lot of volatility. And it happens, you know, 2 years ago this month, I had to do the market update for my first time and my boss goes, but keep it positive. How? Rates went up 1 full percent this week and the Feds announced they're raising the rates 3 to 4 times this year. He goes, you're a veteran, you can do it. And I did. But I say that because it's not unprecedented that we're going through this, but every time it happens, it's tough. Because if you watch Stephen Thomas's market update last week, he did the grid where it showed at this rate, you can qualify for this much. At this rate, you qualify for this much. So I hope that maybe kind of explains why people are a little hesitant right now as the market's just a little volatile. And all we can do is the best we can. We've got low inventory and rates are a little bit up. So I try to quote my clients when I'm doing a pre-approval at a little bit higher rate. And I always explain that they can rate shop me and they're going to find lower, but I do it because I don't want them to have a negative impact when the rates do go up. And if they go down, then I look like a hero. So if you have any questions, you know, let any of us know that are lenders on here. Anybody I would imagine that's here is a veteran. So thank you for your time.
Hey, our pleasure. You know, I mean, it's good to know what the rates are doing out there, because a lot of our clients are lagging behind, you know, when you have those TV commercials that you can get a 1.75, and it's like, yeah, on a 15-year loan with, you know, somebody with an 849 credit score, you know, trying to educate our clients that that's not you and nobody's going to get that loan. Anybody else have anything they want to bring to the table on that? Any other lenders in the room that want to uh, elaborate? I know we've got a couple more in here. Okay, well, we've got more people coming. I'm sorry, I'm working the control. Okay.
If you want to give me access, I can admit people too.
I will do that. I need another hand. Okay. All righty. So I believe we should have a raise hand function too. If somebody just wants to, you know, get in line to talk, that would probably be our easiest way, so we can be sure to help unmute you. And I think we need to say bless you to Barbara. Okay. So what else is going on out there? Somebody? Anybody? Anybody showing property this weekend? Joey, take yourself off. Barbara,
I know Yvonne was.
I've been showing property every weekend trying, and I've done every trick in the book to get my offers accepted, and trying to just beat to the gate over asking, you know, like, hey, you know, don't bother with 40 more showings. You've got way over asking, let's just go. But it's yeah, it's been fun. I have a couple down payment assistance buyers, so that's been the most challenging. Make sure I reach out to each, you know, each person and say, hey, you know, here's the deal on this one. This one's already seen physical underwriters. You know, this is actually not a scary loan. I used to be a lender for many years prior to getting my license. So yeah, it's been challenging and fun, but you know, they're slowly getting accepted, just not on the first try anymore, for sure. So
yeah, it's you know, I was hoping with the interest rates kind of going up, and you know, I'm hoping for some sort of equalization, a little bit of equalization, because I'm doing the same thing. I mean, I put more miles on my car in the past 2 weeks than I had in the previous 2 months. Just,
yes,
you know, going from here to there, and you know, you're right. What you think is like this killer offer, and then you're like, I didn't get a
not even a counter, not even a
yeah,
counter.
and you know, I've asked a couple now, you know, I want to see page 10. I want to see where you presented it. And I also want to see your client's rejection. And one of the agents was like, I don't need to show you that. And I'm thinking to myself, I thought you did. If I don't get a counter, that means it's rejected, right?
Yeah, that's actually a good a question I was going to ask my broker, you know, this week, because I had a situation over the weekend where, you know, it showed only Saturday showings from these times. We wrote an offer an hour after the showing, and then I reached out, no response. Got a response the next morning, yes, received your offer, and then nothing, and then nothing, and then finally, you know, Tuesday, I'm like, when am I going to have a response? You know, after multiple tests and phone calls. And I hate to be that agent, you know, that's like, hey, I mean, I know you guys, we all have 20 offers on our listings, we get it, but there's nothing. Oh, and then she just said Thursday, and then Thursday 6 o'clock came after a couple. We went with another offer. So this is the first time I asked, but I said, you know, I'd like my clients would like the rejection signed and received. Still haven't received it.
Yeah, so that's the tricky thing. We have the right to ask for it, and it doesn't even have to be initialed by the seller. It can be initialed by the agent. And so, you know, they're just being jerks if they're just not sending it to you. And, you know, that's the crappy part about our business is it's so easy to communicate. So why do people make it so hard? Set an expectation. You know, you go in, you know, it's priced well, you know, you're going to get multiple offers. Set an expectation in the MLS. We'll look at all offers and make decisions on Thursday. Okay, great. Now you don't have to reach out 100 times and be a nag. and if you don't reach out, then you feel like you're not supporting and serving your own clients. So it's just ridiculous.
All they need to know is, hey, they're not going to look till this day. I can let my clients know, because they're sitting there waiting for days, anxious, nervous, you know, do we write another offer? Do we keep looking, you know, like, yeah. So yeah, it is what it is, but Yeah. So
Yeah, I had the same thing with that. You know, we're putting the house on the market on Friday. You know, we drop everything, we get in the house, we see it. I come to my, back to my home office, I write an offer, I send it saying, can you confirm receipt? And I don't get an answer. And I send it again. And I'm like, can you please confirm receipt of my offer? Maybe about 6-7 hours later, I get this confirmed in capital letters. And I'm like, great, when can I expect an answer? She's like, well, I'll present offers on Thursday. And I'm like, that's 7 days after this thing went on the market. And I'm like, do you want me to send you an extension of time? No. And it's like, okay.
yeah, I really don't understand, and hopefully no one in here is doing this, but I really don't understand when you're getting 15, 20 offers on the first 2 days of showing, why are people waiting a whole week? Like, why are you trying to create that much more work for ourselves in the first place? I just don't get it. Like, you have over asking offers. There's no reason to delay it and or not communicate, but
Yeah. And
I had a
everybody
few
has a
weeks
solution
ago,
for that.
a few
Barbara?
weeks ago, yeah, a few weeks ago, I had presented an offer, and it she had sent back an email after a few days of me presenting it. She had sent back an email saying, my clients want higher. Can you go any higher? And we brought ours up about 15,000. We're only in the 400,000 range out here in Riverside. So, so we did. We went up higher. We went up to where she wanted, and then we're going back and forth. She said she has counters to put out. I'm like, okay. So she puts out a counter like 10,000 higher, and I'm like, wait a minute. I thought you need me to go to this amount, and she's like, well, we're getting a lot of higher offers. And so I'm like, okay, well, my buyer's not coming up. Sorry. They just told me that was their top amount. So she finally, she gets back to me a few days later, and she says, congratulations, the client has accepted your offer. And I'm like, what? And then she calls me on the phone, and she's like, client rescinded the offer. And I'm like, but I've already received it in my email that as accepted. She goes, no, you haven't sent it back that you received it as accepted. I'm like, but I see it in my email, it's accepted. And she's like, I'm like, we have a signed contract now. And she's like, no, you rescinded it before you sent it back as accepted. So I went through with my broker. You don't have to send an email back as received. And so I told the agent the same thing. And she's like, well, I think you need to get on the phone with CAR attorney hotline. And this was a Friday afternoon. And of course, Monday was a holiday. And so I didn't talk to them till Tuesday. You know how that is. You're on hold a long time. And so the attorney even told me, no, you haven't accepted a contract. So I called her back again, and she's like, oh, I'll get back with you. And so eventually, long story short, she calls me. Can we have a three-way with your broker? I really want to resolve. Now she's being really sweet to me, okay? She wasn't being nice to me before. And she's like, how can we resolve this? I think she realized that, she was wrong.
She messed
How
up.
can we resolve? I'm like, you know what? My client doesn't want to hire an attorney to sue you, or sue your client. So, just keep us in backup. She's like, oh, we will keep you in backup. And sure enough, a week goes by. She comes back. She's like, I fell out of escrow. Is your client still interested? Why did it fill out of escrow? Well, it still has the original knob and tube electric wiring, and it's an old, 1930s built home in the Wood Streets, which is really a popular neighborhood. But, there was some really big red flags on that. And we're like, nope, sorry. My buyer doesn't want to mess with the knob and tube. So it was karma. Yeah, karma. But that's the only buyer I've been working with. I finally get to the finish line, and it's like, I couldn't make it happen. It sucks.
Well,
So,
I think that, you know, I mean, it's important for us when we get our listings to realize, you know, it takes that buyer experience to realize how you should be treating people when you have a listing. And I think that goes a long way. I know Inez wants to speak. Go ahead.
Good morning, everybody. You can hear me, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I just wanted to bring up something that we've all heard 1,000 times. I know, Lisa, one of you were, the other gal mentioned this morning that we hear things a lot, but it's always good to hear it again. So while I'm grateful and thankful, I have had 2 back-to-back listings in my farm that the seller has said, I don't want it on the MLS, no marketing, which of course, in my farm, beautiful locations, you know, prime visibility, you know, for a sign that will not go up. My point here is I asked so many agents the process just to make sure, because as we all know, things have changed so much that nobody can really give you a straight answer. Even the ones that you rely on the most, they don't even know, or they think they know, but they don't, which was one of the reasons I reached out to you, Lisa Dunn, last week. That's when I was trying to get a hold of you. So the importance of doing things by the book so that you don't get your hand slapped, because once these close, agents are going to see these homes pop up and wonder, how did she double end these? Did she sandbag them? But the importance of registering these listings that go into the MLS when they're not being marketed. I'm seeing a lot of those homes not going through that process. I'm seeing a lot of coming soons. I have one in my farm. The coming soon sign has been up for 10, now 12 days. Not in the MLS. It finally went in last night, actually. And the buyer already has 3 offers from people that have come in to see the house, according to him, while the sign was going up. But the registration is super important. And I think that's a piece that would be good to talk about once again on another day, because everybody seems to think that those exclusion forms come into play, and they don't. There's so much confusion around how do you put a house in the MLS if it's not being marketed, but you still want it to count as your inventory and as a comp. So maybe just something to talk about in the next couple of weeks, because from my perspective, there is a ton of confusion amongst the most seasoned agents.
Good point. Maybe, gosh, Lori, do you think maybe that might be a CRMLS worthy?
Yeah, I think it's best coming from them. I know that early on there was misinformation that was out there before it actually went live, and CRMLS did a great job at trying to dispel all that wrong information that was really speculation before the rules went into play. And then there's also confusion because different MLSs have different interpretation and implementation of the actual NAR rule. And so I don't think we have much of that going on down here because we pretty much all use CRMLS. But in other areas where they use different MLSs, their rules may be different. And if you work in an area where you are next to another area on a different MLS, you need to know both rules and you need to comply with both rules. So it's really tricky. So yeah, they're the best ones to really talk about it. And it might be great if we can do that one as a session like this, where the audience can directly ask them their questions. I think that would be a big help.
And it doesn't help for us in the CRMLS community that those exclusion forms are in zip forms, because that's adds to the confusion. And the wording is still on the main matrix website. So it kind of leads you to believe that you still need that form, which you don't. So like I said, there's just seems to be a lot of confusion, and I try to stay on the ball on these things. And even I was lost last week.
Yeah, it's a tricky one.
And for those of you in the comments on Facebook that are saying that you're having you can't get on to the Zoom, if you go to the event posting for this, you can register through there. It should let you in just fine. I tried it. So Lori, if you were wondering why my name was popping up all over the
Yeah.
screen, that's why, because I was playing with it. So you guys should be able to get on using the link in the event. You'll have to register and then it will pop you right on in here. So give that a try. Mary Jane and Jim and anybody else out there that I missed your remarks, but yeah, that's some good information in this. Thank you so much for that. And I wouldn't have been able to answer it properly.
So now I feel like I'm the resident expert. So if anybody has any questions, because I was quite frankly nervous about getting into trouble only because of the fact that I double-ended both of these. And one, because the seller already had the buyer. That's why he didn't want to market it. But so yeah, now I know.
Yeah, it's an interesting situation. And let's see, Yvonne has her hand up. And if you guys want to chat, you know, put your hand up using either the reactions button or if, depending on which version of Zoom you have. Let's see. So
good morning.
good
So
morning.
just to kind of piggyback on what Inez was saying, I know I go to so many meetings to try and stay current, and I am still confused. I've been told that in several meetings that coming soon, you can show to within your own company and your existing clients. But then I go to a CRMLS meeting and they're saying, no, you can't. So there really needs to be some kind of clarity, because I'm told by people who are teaching this stuff and CAR and such, CAR reps, so there's just so much confusion. And then as far as showings, I've been showing a lot in Inland Empire, specifically San Bernardino, Beaumont, and Moreno Valley. And we're waiting in lines to see properties. I had a really strong, solid offer out. Buyer has their own closing costs, down payment. Had maybe about 4 days before I could finally get a response to my text that, yes, we have received your offer. Didn't hear anything until about day 7. And I finally, called and said, hey, just wanted to see what was going on with our offer. My client's been waiting, anticipating. And he says, oh, we've had over 30 offers, which I totally believe and I totally get. We only counted the top 5. Well, I know we went about 20,000 over asking. And I found a comp that could reasonably justify it. It was somewhere within the realm. And he says, oh, we had offers up to, the property was, I think it was 380. Yeah, said we had offers up to 450. I'm like, what? So we didn't even get a counter offer. It's insane.
Yeah, I'm showing property out in Riverside and I'm seeing the same thing. We wrote 50,000 over on 2 and I'm not even getting a counter. And, and it's really interesting how some of the people have, they're just like, oh, well, we want you to remove all of your contingencies in 14 days. And I'm like, it's contingent upon my client closing escrow on their home. I can't do that. And then they come back and they're like, well, we want to know if you're going to, if you're going to accept our counter. And I'm like, unless you take things off like the counter I sent you saying, we have to have the, the COP terms agreed to, and they're still beating on me because now they can't find anybody that will pay the ridiculous price that my client offered on that house. So I think it's a good sign that we're not going to get that one. But Pam, you were next, and then Vicky's after you. COP terms agreed to.
Good morning.
Morning.
Sorry, I
you're
didn't
fine.
know that this one was going to show us, and I'm in my pajamas and I don't have any makeup on. So that's why I've been messing around with the camera and I didn't know anybody could see me. I'm so sorry. And so Gary came in and said, what are you doing? I said, I don't know. You can't see my office either because I've got like 6 offers on my desk and there's stuff everywhere and I'm embarrassed. You guys all have such neat backgrounds. I have a chair. I made that up. Anyway, speaking from the standpoint of a listing agent, I listed something on Friday and I knew it was going to be a good listing because it's single story, 8,000 square foot lot, Mission Viejo, la da da da. And I was slammed. And my seller didn't want anybody in the house without me there. So as a listing agent, it was like the gong show. Over the weekend, I had 20 showings and I had to be there for everyone and make sure everybody wiped their hands, and I had to wipe all the doorknobs. After all of that, I only have one offer, which is funny. But sellers don't, and the offer is a good one and she should take it, but she's hesitating because this whole thing is overwhelming to them. They're thinking they can get better. So sellers have developed an attitude, and it's really hard, I think, on listing agents to calm them down and say, just take the one that, pick something, because we have all these regulations too. We can't do pictures. We can't do love letters. We can't tell anybody about anything. We can call a lender, right? Still. And then I have a condo listing. I took 2 listings on Friday after going a month with nothing, and it has 4 offers. And again, the seller doesn't know what to do. He's confused. And so you have to get him in the room. And that's why it takes a while, because it's a lot of paperwork unless the seller is sophisticated. In both cases, I have first-time sellers. So I communicate as much as I can, but in a sense, multiple counters are burdensome. So as a buyer's agent, you just write the best offer you can and don't anticipate a counter, because you can't always do it. I just wanted to add that. So like I had the weekend from hell with all these people running around the house and me trying to clean somebody else's house. And I really love all the agents that came in were fabulous. And I wanted to talk to them and hug them, but we can't do that either. So that being said, that's just a point of view from the listing agent. Thank you.
It's a good point of view to show from the perspective of the listing agent. And I see Jessica had wrote in there, similarly about the delays that can be caused on the listing agent side. And I think we all understand that. I think it's just a matter of acknowledging, even if you're going to ask for your offers to be sent to an email, a specific email address, maybe even set up an out of office, thank you for your email, we'll get back to you. Something to show that, yes, it went through would be appropriate. So, there's just other ways that we can try to figure out how to communicate. Just like Joy said, just communicate.
Yeah, that's the most important thing, because I'm to the point now, like I tried to get into, when my clients wanted to see a house in Lake Forest, that, the guy's like, okay, we're having, every 15 minutes, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, that last hour that on Sunday, can we, is there anything available? No. Okay. Is there anything available anytime on Sunday? No. Can we see it on Monday? No. My seller says no more showings on Sunday. It's like, so I've got a ready, willing, and able buyer that I can't even get in the house. So I'm just copy pasting the text messages and say, this is what the agent said to me. This is what the agent said to me. I can't get you in.
I'm happy that Pam shared that perspective, right? Because I had over the weekend a listing agent that I work with called crying. She got 40 offers on this home and didn't even know where to start, because it was those 40 offers in addition to everybody blowing her up on status. And for her, she's a single person shop. And so she didn't have that support to reply back. And obviously she's having to restructure her Monday, but just to, remember that other side of the transaction, even though it's, not the best, obviously you want to hear back right away. But because they're getting so many offers, because they're getting so many questions, because you're having to deal with the sellers, there's a lot that's going in. I think that's extending these timeframes, for your buyers, and just kind of the nature of the market that we're in at the moment.
Next is going to be Vicky, and then I see Joy, and then we'll go to Yvonne. So Vicky, you've been patiently waiting.
So yeah, I think that's the name of the game, right? Everyone needs to be patient and pack their patience like crazy right now, both for the listing and the buying side. I'm up in Sacramento and we're experiencing the same thing. I just wrote an offer for my sister 70,000 over offer, and and she was going to make up the difference on the appraisal, and the house started at 580. So I mean, it's insane. That's more than 10% over asking. That's like more 12, 13%. So I have several other buyers that I'm working with as well. And I recognize that writing multiple offers for your clients is a bad idea. However, I did not realize that it was a violation. Do you have any insight on that? And yeah, insight would be great on that, because it's really hard when, you know, you write an offer, you're having to wait a full week for a response from the listing agent, and meanwhile prices go up $10,000 to $20,000 in that 7 days. And so now you have a buyer who is almost priced out of the market because you have to wait for a week in between every offer that you're making.
Yeah, I can speak to that, and then maybe we can have Pam speak to that from the professional standards point of view. It is a conversation that's come up a lot at CAR because everybody's in the same boat. You know, we're all trying to work with buyers, and the competition is just so much that you almost have no choice but to put out more than one offer. So is it a violation? I mean, technically it is. You're supposed to, in good faith, be making an offer for that property, for one property, because that's the house the client wants, right? Well, right now they're desperate. They want anything. They'll take anything. And so the answer, and I was in a meeting last week where this came up, the answer is, well, you know, you really should advise your client to speak to an attorney to find out what could possibly happen if they end up in a contract for two or more properties. Now, we all know from a practical standpoint, we're just lucky if we'll get one of them, let alone, you know, we got two of them. So the answer truly is, you're not supposed to do it. But at the same time, you know, you have to represent your client as best you can. And if that means scrambling and putting out more than one offer, you could argue that's in the best interest of your client to do. So the issues come up when, if two or more offers get accepted, then your buyer is legally bound to more than one property. And now there's issues with that. There was a case study that was talked about in the meeting I was in last week, where they said the buyer's agent informed the buyer, well, don't worry about it, because as long as you don't put any money into escrow, you're not at risk. Wrong answer. And I never really thought about that. The listing agent pursued it and said, no, you're under contract. Well, yeah, but my buyer backed out. My buyer changed their mind. Well, because the reality is they bought another house. They wanted, you know, they got an offer accepted on another house, and then they had a choice. So they said, well, you know, you're bound to buy this property, and even though you didn't put any money into it, you're still legally bound. Well, my client changed their mind. Well, guess what? That's not a contingency. There's no change your mind as one of the contingencies. So the listing agent pursued it because the seller wanted to pursue it. Buyer ended up losing, and then of course sued the buyer's agent for bad advice. The advice having been, well, you didn't put any money in, so you have nothing to lose. So it's really dangerous. But having said that, what do? You can't disclose. You know, I did have one broker that I talked to several weeks ago. She said, well, you know, I know if I disclose it to the listing agent that I'm putting more than one offer out there, then I'm okay. But if I disclose that, they're not going to consider my offer because you're not really invested. You maybe want a different offer. So I don't think that, from a practical standpoint, I don't think there's any really good way to pursue it. But you may want to just disclose to your buyer, you know, the possibility could happen that we get more than one accepted. So you really need to talk to an attorney about that. And I know at one point we had asked CAR to please put together an FAQ on this topic. I think they're still working on it. I haven't seen anything come out yet. We don't have a meeting this week. It was last week, but I was on another meeting, so I couldn't attend. But I'll follow up with them and see if they've made any progress on that, because we're finding ourselves in that situation more and more, where there's no choice but to put out more than one offer.
Yeah, I was always kind of under the impression as long as you disclosed it. And then as soon as you know, get out that withdrawal of offer form like now and, get it out to anybody that you might have something outstanding with. But I mean, it's kind of a, darned if you do, darned if you don't situation, because it's like, let's say you're one of the 40 offers with Jessica's client. You have a 1 in 39 chance of getting that home. Your odds are you better start looking at something else, because it's and you're not going to know when it's not going to happen. That's the biggest problem, is you don't know when it's not going to happen. And our buyers are thinking, well, are you working as hard for me as you possibly can? And I have one client telling me now, come on, Lisa, go work your magic. And it's like, my pixie dust bag is running really low right now, because of the fact my offer, when the agent looks at that one that I submitted on Friday that they're not reviewing till Thursday, it's going to be expired Monday night. Can that agent then say your offer's no good anymore, so I don't even have to counter you? And what do I tell my buyer? What do I tell my buyer? She didn't want an extension. She told me, do not send an extension. So the rules are out there, being manipulated, by the listing agents. And I'm primarily a listing agent. I'm working with buyers right now, and this is kind of against my my own personal wishes, because it's really running me ragged, especially when I have somebody's home sold and we have only so many days to find a house, and I have to wait and wait and wait to see if I'm even going to get a counter offer. It's not a good world. Yvonne, you got your hand up?
Just another issue that I ran into this weekend. Trying to schedule, we talked about trying to schedule appointments. In the multiple listing service showing instructions, it says do not go direct. So I am texting, trying to get an appointment, can't get an appointment for Saturday. Finally, I text, can you please? And it has showing instructions from do not go direct, showings from 12 to 3. And I text, okay, do you have anything available on Sunday? No response. I'm checking out an app, HomeSnap, and I see in there that the same property says open house live. I'm like, what? So I go back Sunday morning to check out the showing instructions, and now it says just come direct. So they made a mistake and I'm not responding. So I show up there and there's people coming in and out, and I'm waiting for my client. And the person sitting there at the property comes out and says, are you here for the open house? And I'm like, open house? And then I look off to the side, and sure enough, there is an open house sign. And he didn't respond. He just kind of looked, went back to where he was sitting. And so now I'm thinking, okay, I need to report this, but how do I prove it? Now I'm sitting there thinking, waiting for my client. So I have a little bit of time on my hands. So I need to report this, but how do I prove? Because a lot of people are putting open house signs out just for agents to come and show on the front yard. So I'm looking, and at that point, there's no people around. So it's like, okay, I have this open house sign, this one person saying that it's an open house, but no other people at this point in time. So the whole situation was really frustrating.
It is certainly a test of patience right now on every front. It is, it's an interesting time. I'm just hoping that things just slow down. We need some inventory. We need some higher interest rates. Joy, did you?
Yeah,
And then-
I'm definitely going to say there's been some frustration with the whole, COVID overlay and people not following the proper, guidelines. There was a listing, same thing, only showing between 12 to 3, schedule went on showing time because they required showing time, scheduled my appointment. Well, apparently showing time, they were allowing overlapping. So there was 20 people scheduled for the 11 o'clock and 20 more people. Luckily I got there early and I got in line first, but I'm like, you're only showing between 12 and 3. You're not going to get through the whole first 30 minutes worth of appointments, let alone all the different time slots. And there was literally a line down the street. And I'm like, how is that compliant? You know? And then another one, same weekend, said, I'll only approve your appointment showing between this time. And I said, okay, well, what time slot do I get? Oh, you're approved. And it said 10-minute appointments, no problem. He said, okay, well, we're only showing between 12 and 4. And I have 50 people. I said, okay, so we're all just free for all, come when you want to come. Like there's no time slots. Yep. I said, well, never mind. You can take us off the list. I'm not going to stand in line with 50 people for 3 hours, not knowing when my clients can get in. They got to go to work. So we passed on that. But I'm like, it's really not hard to just take your calendar, schedule every 15 minutes. Sorry, we're booked. But, I don't know if those are things you should report or what, but it's just really not fair to the clients, to make them stand out on a curb for hours and I feel like that's less COVID compliant than an open house almost, letting one person in at a time, at least you know what you're getting into. But
Very true. It is so
like, how do we solve that problem?
At least, mark off every 6 feet for the line to go down the street. Pam, you had your hand up, and then Connie.
I think what we all need to keep in mind is that this is it's almost like war. This is a time of crisis. And during a time of crisis, we need to stick together as Team Realtor. And I know that sounds like a sermon, but seriously, we're hurting each other. By letting people stand outside 30 deep, we're hurting each other. By not calling an agent back and saying, I got your offer, how would you want to be treated that way? The very last line of the preamble of the Code of Ethics states the golden rule. We pledged to obey that and to obey the Code of Ethics when we joined CAR and OCAR and NAR. And I think we just need to remind people that we're in this together. And the public is counting on us to sort of hold it together. And it's hard because people are like mad and people are crying. And I cannot tell you how many people were relieved when I call them back. And that's sad. You called me back. Oh no, you called me back. And it's like, we need to depend on it because we've got the Code of Ethics here. And yes, I'm sitting at my desk and it's in front of me. It's always there. Article 3 says we have to cooperate. The problem is nobody can file a complaint because it's too much trouble. CAR is it's got a working group working on a way to file a complaint and without involving the local AOR, just by anonymous, they're figuring something out. So we're kind of stuck in this weird world right now, and it's going to come back to hurt us because I think that everybody, and I'm preaching to the choir here, but the way you treat people is the way you're going to get treated. And this market's going to turn around. I can guarantee you it's going to be a buyer's market because I've been doing this 42 years and I've seen this happen before. And mean people suck. There. I'm sorry. I just, we just need to, open houses. We can't do that. We're not supposed to. Why are you doing it? What's wrong with you? So I do say things like that to people, but they get mad at me. And as for writing multiple offers for one client, it's not a good idea, but they do it. And then when they get into escrow, if another house comes on the market they like better, they find a reason not to like the house because of all those contingencies. So it's just a thing we have to deal with. And we just have to take it one house at a time and one moment at a time and respect each other. So that being said, I'll just put my Code of Ethics away because we can't do anything about all this right now. We just have to be nice. Thank you for letting me share.
And this is why we love Pam.
Yes, always good to get the input from Pam, and a couple hashtags. Mean people suck.
And Team Realtor. And now it's Connie's turn.
Thank you. Hey, guys. Oh, Pam, I was kind of going to jump on that same soapbox with you because I am in Tulare County. We have 1,500 realtors. We have 18 days of inventory. Lowest we've ever seen. We are seeing so many horrible things happening, and I'm very disappointed in my some of the agents, how they're acting. They're scared, they're panicked. There's a lot of things going on. They're not representing their buyers or their sellers. They don't have anything posted at the homes. There's a lot of things going on behind the scenes. You know, it's upsetting to see my industry go to this level. So my goal is to not call people out, but personally call brokers and say, hey, this is what happened. You know, the board office is getting just huge amount of calls every day from people, not members, just from buyers and sellers with agents misbehaving. Like I said, they're not posting the houses, they're not wearing masks. And of course, people have the cameras. There's just mayhem. I feel like we are in the middle of a little real estate war. And I'm glad you brought that up, Pam, because I just feel like it is time for us to pull together. And how do we do that? I'm in a very small community, but it is what I witnessed over the weekend has just really been troublesome. It's just like pull back the reins. Everybody needs to just stop and take a breath. There's not any inventory, and that's not going to happen overnight. I mean, we have subdivisions, they're releasing them, and they are sold within hours, the whole subdivision or the phases. So what a predicament. I mean, yes, we are essential and it's been an amazing market, but wow, the misbehaving is really troublesome for me. So that was my biggest take, and it's amazing what's happening. That's all I wanted to say is it's not going to change overnight. So we've got to figure out how we can work in this market and take care of our buyers and sellers.
Absolutely. And, you know, and it's interesting because you mentioned the signs, and my clients brought it up to me when we were on like house number 6 of 8 that we were seeing. And they're like, hey, this is the first house we've seen with the signs up that you made us put up at our house. And I'm like, yeah, isn't that special? And let's see if they might have hand sanitizer or maybe, an antiseptic wipe. Yeah, I mean, I'm still, when I have a listing, I've got my little table I bought from IKEA, and I've got my little signs in the plastic holders because I don't like making the house look like a hazmat scene. But the signs are posted out in front with a table with, I got one of these really cool little battery operated touchless hand sanitizer things. And I have my wipes and extra mask. And you know what? I mean, anybody who comes in has everything they need. Am I mandated to do that anymore? Not really, but we all know that they're, out of 100 agents showing a home, 99 of them are not wiping anything down.
I know.
And, I make it easy on them. All they have to do is just, there's the wipes, there's the hand sanitizer. Hey, check it out. Just stick your hand under there and it sprays all over the place. And, is it that hard as a listing agent to still do that for the safety of your clients and the safety of the people coming in the house? We've all taken it for granted now.
Oh, definitely. The liability issue has just kind of gone out the door. They're just like, oh, in the beginning, the whole PED forms were so serious and the liability, and now people have just gotten very laxed, and I still worry about that. And we have a huge issue with a lot of our homeowners who own rentals are selling them because the value is so high, and that's being really handled poorly as well. So, these tenants have nowhere to go. It's just really, it's a market. I'd like to come back in 2022. I think I just want to take a hiatus and come back when all this was, because I'm 30 plus years in the business, and I'm just like, oh my goodness, I've seen it all, but nothing like this. It's just, it's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking what's happening. So anyway, thanks for letting me share the Tulare County story.
Yeah, thanks for sharing it.
You're
It's always good to get the perspective from other areas too.
Well, and that brings to mind a concern, like Pam was saying, the market's going to shift, and the market will shift. I mean, back in 2018, we had a massively overheated market the first half of the year, and then somebody just turned the faucet off and you couldn't give away a house in the second half of 2018, in the beginning of 2019, and then everything heated back up again. But just in that little period of, I want to say like March of 2018 till June, I mean, prices shot up through the roof. People were doing the ridiculous bids, and then boom, stops, $50,000 devaluation on the homes that the people bought in May. So what's going to happen if the market does all stop and we have these buyers that are saying, you know, you told me I needed to go 50,000 over asking, and now I've lost money, you know? So we've got to be careful about that too, is, you know, explaining to our clients. I mean, I always include the market conditions form whenever I take a listing and whenever we write an offer. So my clients reminded over and over again, this is your decision, not my decision. This is your decision on what you want to offer. So if they come back and say, well, you didn't say anything, I got this. And you signed like 12 of them because we wrote 12 offers. So, you know, it's just something to protect ourselves, because some people may come back and they may be very upset if the market does turn, and it can turn on a dime, and we've seen it. Many, you know, we got a lot of veterans in this group, and, you know, we can all remember when a hot market will just stop. And Ruth has some good comments here in the Zoom. Appraisal waivers are going to come back and bite us. That's a problem in the greed. You know, we got a lot of sellers that, you know, like Pam's situation, I find fascinating, because I've been seeing this too. You have a gazillion people through the house, and then you only get a couple of offers, and your seller's like, but everybody said I'm going to get 20 offers. And it's like, well, I guess maybe we priced it right, or this person really wants your house, you know, and having those tough conversations with the sellers that are expecting a gazillion and get maybe 4. There is nothing wrong with 4 offers. There's nothing wrong with 2 offers. And if it's a good offer, there's nothing wrong with 1 offer. But it's interesting times. Joy?
Swapping the topic a little bit, when you guys were talking about all the new construction selling out in that first, like, you know, couple hours of the first phase, you know, is there something that we can possibly do? Or, I mean, I just feel bad. I have buyers. We kind of flipped from looking at resale to new construction, you know, thinking that might be a little bit more of an option for us to get an actual house. So we've been going around to new builds, but with a lot of them coming out, you know, we always know that the builders want you to use the in-house lender. I get that. No problem. If I'm going to buy this house, yeah, absolutely. You know, my clients who've been pre-approved with this lender will definitely sit down and talk to you and see if it's more beneficial for them to go with your in-house lender. But now I'm seeing every single lender every single build wants you to get pre-approved with their lender before they'll even put you on the list to view the houses. And they're using COVID as the reason, when, you know, my clients have a viable, solid pre-approval, DU, everything. And, you know, they're like, okay, I'm not running my credit more than four times. Now I'm past the 30 days. Excuse my son in the background. He loves to walk by on my camera always. But, you know, they're like, you know, after that 30 days, I'm not going to take more hits on my credit just so I can, you know, see if this is a house that I want to buy. And I feel like, you know, that's something that should be maybe, you know, discussed or talked about, because I feel it's not fair for these builders to be putting that on people to be on the priority list to view it, when, you know, inventory is already so low as it is. They're pre-approved. Here's 4 different pre-approvals from every lender, new build we've gone to. Why do I need to do a 5th one?
Yeah. Well, I would defer to our lenders who are on here to respond to the credit part of the question. But if it's their business practice and they're consistent with everybody, they can do it. You know, it's discrimination if they're only asking certain buyers or certain potential buyers, but if they're asking everybody, then it's allowed. So I saw Carrie put her hand up.
Hi there. I don't know if this will help. When I moved to Las Vegas in 2003, I spent an 8-year stint out there. So I truly rode the largest ride and the largest crash. So I'll just quickly speak from experience. It was kind of insane. We went in, I was getting married, we wanted to buy a house. We were number 550 on a new construction site in the selection list. We were number 600 on another one. They were only building 100 homes. At the time, what they did is and I understand where your frustration is coming from. I don't know how you prevent, because a pre-approval should allow them to see the property. And I'm hearing this because I have clients who are looking at new construction, and the lender for the builders are literally requiring us to run alongside and even provide all documents to their lender. And it's a little weird to me because it's a lot of over disclosure about, I personally don't even have my real estate clients, my realtors ask me for that much detail. They just want to know, does the person qualify? They don't want to know specifically what the people's assets, income. I don't know how you get around that. But I'm hearing what you're saying. And it is tough because, again, if they want to make an offer, I understand that they need to be a viable candidate, but we are running into, and I don't know if you know that, if a lot of you know that as lenders, we're having to run roughshod and provide updated income, updated assets. And it's a tough thing for me because I'm so protective as a lender of my clients' information, their socials, and sometimes I want to redact the documents. I worked for a law firm. I know what lawsuits come through. Again, it doesn't really give you that answer, but it gives you more of what we're seeing on our end, that, yeah, this is sometimes a struggle, and the struggle is real, that's going on a rare occasion, because I have the seasoning that I do. I can call and get around it because I used to underwrite and I can drop names. It's just a benefit. So if you have a great network source, see who you can tap into that may know somebody, and just start dropping that. Because if you're a seasoned veteran, you know somebody who knows somebody. And I've gotten around like US Bank because I used to underwrite for them. They were the preferred lender. Once I started talking about the sales manager who I used to work with, I hate to say, networking is key right now, you guys. And just like everybody has said earlier, stay positive, stay kind, keep your reputation clean, because when someone sees your name, that's what you want them to think of. Again, sorry, I don't have a specific answer. Maybe the networking will help.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate that. I feel bad for my clients. They're like, okay, we're just going to take a break from looking right now. We're not going to write 20, 30,000 over asking, that they're just, they're not going to. And I get that. And I completely actually agree with them, and that they're like, I'm just not going to go through every new build, writing a whole new application every time we want to get on a list to see a new release of homes, because other one that we've gone to, or you can kind of walk through, they're already sold out. They're like, oh, we got one and there's 200 people on the wait list, so yeah, so it's just kind of, just wondering, I've never been in the situations where so many people are requiring a full application to just get on the list to view the new upcoming homes. So yeah, thank you.
Wonderful. We
So-
got another perspective coming.
So I actually very familiar with something like that. In fact, it just happened to me this weekend. So for the most part, lenders, we don't like competing against the in-house lender. We just, I joke about it, but the fact is, with one hand give it, the other hand take it away. The in-house lender is always going to have a better deal because they're just going to work with the builder to get a little here to give back a little bit over there. But that being said, so I'm originally from Hawaii. I do a lot of my business still in Hawaii. Hawaii has tons of new construction. They pretty much implement it as a lottery system. You want a house, you show up, you put your name on the list. They pick names out of a hat like once every 2 months. If you're lucky enough to get your number pulled, you get to go in and actually start your contract on the house, so on and so forth. It has always been their policy that if you want to even come see a property, just because the demand for it is so high, you have to come with a pre-approval. And it's just something that I've kind of gotten used to. Like, so for example, literally this weekend, I have a client, he's been looking for a while. Realtor reached out to me, said, hey Jet, really sorry to have to say this, but the guy who really wants to look at this new construction ever by Gentry, can you write us a pre-approval so that we can go look at it? sure. I mean, I'm not going to hold my client back from getting the property that they want just for my own benefit. So I wrote the pre-approval, sent it over. I mean, the loan officer on the other end called just for like a friendly conversation, but for the most part, at least with the new constructions that I've dealt with, as long as they have a pre-approval letter from somewhere like myself, they don't need to pull credit at this time. What they'll usually do is allow the client to go see the property. Once their number gets selected out of the hat, they'll then actually start a loan application, so on and so forth. Is that not the case? Are they actually requiring like the whole
No,
shebang
that's how it
before they'll
used
even
to
see
be.
it? Yeah.
That's how it used to be. You could come with your own pre-approval from your own lender. Of course, once you're ready to get in there and you're considering, then they want you to either cross-qual with their lender or,
Sure.
obviously upsell you. But now they're not even allowing you to get on the list to see the homes without going through their lender with a full application. And that's they're like, my credit's been ran by 5 different lenders. Now we're beyond the 30 days because we haven't found a home. My
Sure.
credit's going to get hit again.
Sure.
I'm not going to do a full application for, 2 more, 3 more people. I don't need 7 pre-approvals from 7 different lenders. I'm approved. So that's just where the frustration is, because now we're affecting, people's credits as well, just to get on a list to see a new release of properties. So
So
there needs to be some kind of regulation.
that's a tough call because I do have that conversation about credit scores with clients quite regularly because everyone has that concern, like, oh, if I get my credit pulled, it's going to lower my credit score. It does. I mean, but even like, let's say for example, this particular client had come to me and said, hey, they're going to pull my credit. Well, dude, how much do you want the house? Because if it dings you a couple points, that's the whole reason you've been building your credit this whole time, is to buy these houses. So if you're going to now sit on the sidelines at the one time when your great credit score would actually do something for you, it's a tough call. I agree. Like I, as a lender, would love if you guys, put more regulations on in-house lenders. I would love to get more business, but unfortunately, we've been complaining about that type of stuff for years and it's not really happened. So, I mean, if you guys want to help me out, I'd be more than happy to get behind you guys on that. Full support.
Wow. Well, guess what, guys? It's 10:02. That hour went by really, really fast. And Lori has put a link in the Zoom comments, and I put it in the Facebook comments with a draft of the new RPA. Lori, anything you want to say on that?
Yeah, so this is the draft. I think they are still accepting questions and comments. But essentially take a look at it. We will be finalizing it at the May meetings for CAR, and then training will begin in August, and the release of the form will come out in December. So take a look at it. There's some pretty interesting things in there that hopefully will help with how we practice and how we understand certain ramifications of choices that are made in the contract. So enjoy.
And we had kind of a buyer love letter conversation going on in the chat on the Zoom. And last week we were supposed to be doing a buyer love letter discussion in another group that got postponed. I think what we're going to do is we're going to pull that conversation over to Nerdy Real Estate Resources, maybe not have it as a Monday morning coffee and compliance, but have it as like a super duper extra special one, maybe like at 4:30 in the afternoon or something. So, that is something that's going on out there that is a practice that is potentially dangerous as an agent to be either, receiving one with an offer is super bad, but writing it up can be bad as well. And maybe we can get some information from some folks that have seen what one of these fair housing violations, happens when you get hit with something like that. And we're usually talking 5-digit fines, wasn't it, Lori?
At least.
Yeah. So this is a conversation that is very worthy of having, and just, keep your eye on the group. We're all working, and sometimes it's like, well, I kind of forget during the week. I got to post stuff in the group and it doesn't get posted, but just, keep an eye open, and we'll be having that discussion sooner rather than later because it is very important. And we have Fair Housing Month coming up, which you'll probably hear about it a lot, but I think we're going to beat it to the punch and maybe do more of a March type thing. But again, very worthy conversation. We'll bring in some folks we hope that can, really shine some information on that too, to keep us out of trouble. So with that, Lori, got anything else before we call it a day here?
That's it. I just want to thank everybody for being here and sharing their scenarios and asking their questions. And for those that chimed in to offer answers, thank you. Takes a village.
Certainly does. So go out there and be nice to people. Right, Pam? Okay.
Thanks, everybody. So
Have
good
a
to see you all.
Have a wonderful day and go out there and sell a house. We'll see you later.